Welcome to our very first episode of the Deep Talk Show that we are launching in commemoration of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. I'm your host, Nyasha Dube, and I'm surrounded with these beautiful ladies from Zvishavane, and I'll ask them to introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be invited here. The full name is Tadiwana Sheburukai Matutu. I work for a women-led, women-serving, and women-focused organization called Umandla Foundation here in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thanks, Tadiwa.
Thank you very much. My name is Biola Mkaro, and I'm a makeup artist. I'm the owner of Bubble Beat Beauty. We don't mainly focus on makeup only. We focus on inner beauty, outer beauty, and we focus on women being generally happy and loving themselves. Thank you very much.
And
Maskata Kanaka, Dokosai Mose Strategies. Amen. Indroitwa mufundisi Sakuvuni, ndinoshanda neWomen's Ministries, ndiri mufundisi muZvishavane Church kereke ndinopinda inonzi Isaiah 61 International Ministries.
And remember, this show is brought to you by Impact Stories Zimbabwe in partnership with Hands of Hope Trust, Umandla Foundation, Mwanasikana wa Nasi, Women's Weekly Journal, Bubble Speed Beauty, and Isaiah 61. So maybe just to start the ball rolling, ladies, punishment in communities that are actually a violation of our rights, really violent, but have been normalized in the communities. What do you have any experiences with that? Maybe we can start with Bubbles.
Okay. In Pandroshandira, generally I work with it's women most of the times. 98% of the times it's women. So basically what I tried to do when I was opening my makeup studio, what I was trying to do was to open up a platform for women to become comfortable. So I wanted to create an atmosphere of comfort, an atmosphere of freedom, so that they feel safe enough to start communicating the things that bother them. So gender-based violence mainly, yes, it encompasses both men and women, but we have actually discovered that it's more attacking women, you know. The biggest issues, I think, came from the fact that we have been objectified. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I think that's the right word. We have been objectified. We feeling that thing of humanity, and then we are now trophies or objects that you can do anything you want and you get away with it. I feel like that's what we have become generally, you know, because I've had a ton of issues. I've had a ton of issues where in relationships women get abused in setups where institutions, workplaces, and various places, they have been abused simply because they are women, and most of the times they get away with it. So it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things that are encompassed in gender-based violence, which we'll definitely unpack. But what I want people in generally in Zvishavane to understand is that there are things that will be unpacked here. Big things that will be unpacked, some that are going to be uncomfortable. But they have to accept it. It's reality. It's a fact. It's true.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Bubbles. Like, women are now being treated as just sexual objects. They're not good for anything else except, you know, we've been sexualized.
Exactly.
Okay, Tadiwa, at Umandla Foundation, I understand you have sessions where you discuss issues affecting women, issues even also relating to gender-based violence. Do you care to share your experiences?
Thank you so much for that. So I would like to speak on two sessions that we facilitate. We have the online and the offline. So I'll start with the offline. We termed it Pasipe Muti, which loosely just translates to under the tree. What we do, Onya that not our Pasipe Muti, are lived realities of girls and women. We need to understand that Vaskana Imamai, we come in very diverse forms. We are young, we are old, we are short, we are tall, we are very complex as well. We don't come in a straitjacket approach. And that complexity makes us amazing individuals. So we realize the conversations that we have under Paspe Muti are day-to-day issues that we face as women, whether at home, in the workspace, and the different environments that we can be at church, be within yourself as well, the psychosocial support that we also have to consider when we're talking about Nyaze Vaskana. We also have a Not a Vagina monologue. This is a monthly session that we create on our Instagram live session at Mandla Foundation. So what we do every month under Vagina Monologues is we have different speakers, different experts come talk on different conversations. Last week, Thursday, we had women and men, our first male guest who came in, and they were talking around gender-based violence and reproductive autonomy. As Bubbles was talking around issues of reproductive autonomy, we're looking at issues of how a woman or a girl can make that decision around their reproductive issues. When to have a relationship, how many kids if they choose to have a relationship, when to engage in a sexual act, how to engage in that sexual act, how to express themselves, whether sexually or even non-sexually. So you realize kuti patentiri munharaunda kwatinenge tichishanda kwatinogara kwatinobata mibato yedu yakasiyana yamaoko. Women are turned to be seen as Babo said, trophy individuals. They don't see us beyond our beautiful looks, our amazing bodies. They only see that. They don't realize that we have brains. Exactly. We have an amazing IQ. We are creative. We are women are able to do a lot of things. So some of these sessions that we talk about, their agenda or their focus is to push for confidence building. Safe spaces for conversation, to ensure that you're not alone. You're not going through this alone. We are here to listen. You're here to be heard and to also to speak and share what you're going through. Because what I might be going through, Mama Mindfulness might also be going through it, or she might have gone through it. She will share her experience to me. There's a concept also of intergenerational conversations to ensure that individuals of different ages, experiences, and background to be able to dissect the information, to be able to talk about it intensely and deeply. Looking at how some of these issues are really, really serious at the sense that looking at gender-based violence, we always assume it's just physical or sexual. Gender-based violence goes on beyond that. We have economic violence, which is really difficult to look at. It's around issues of unequal pay, wages, and equal salary. We are looking at issues of how maybe you're in an intimate relationship and your partner tells you don't go to work. They control the salary, they control the income. We are looking at issues of how in a household, only one individual has the decision, power-making decision with regards to financing. We're looking at issues of how even if you are able to bring something to the table, you can't make a decision. You can't be able to say what can or can I not do with those finances. We're also looking around issues of verbal and psychosocial gender-based violence. In the sense that it's mental, it's emotional. It looks beyond what everyone sees. It looks at how I'm treated in an intimate environment between me and my spouse, between me and my boss, me and my subordinate, me and the next person I'm going to talk about. We're looking around issues of body positivity. How a person in the street basically can feel that they're entitled to say something about my body, my clothes, my complexion, my hairstyle, my choice of how I choose to express myself. You, an individual, chooses to say something about me as say it's so individual. So it's really deep and structural. And you also understand that it's not just individual to individual gender-based violence, it's also structural in the sense that the government has certain policies, certain reforms, certain legislation that exists that is quite, that needs amendment, that needs to be, a lot of advocacy work is actually currently being done by different organizations, alignment of laws and policies as well. So I will try to maybe give the others some time to speak.
Yes. I'm happy that you mentioned the different forms of violence and also that there are gaps in legislations that need to be addressed. But we'll come back to that. For now, we go to the church. You know, there are many things that happen in the church, and as a pastor, I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of issues. Can you share some of the experiences that you've dealt with?
Thank you so much, my daughter Nyasha, for inviting me to this talk show. Yange iri shuwiro yangu zvikuru sei yekuti ndingaone sei mukana wekuva nevoice pamusoro pe-this story. Nyaya yeGVP iri kushungurudza nekunetsa even mumachurches. Regai nditange nekuvana vasikana, magirls. Magirls ari panguva yakaoma. Ari panguva yakaoma zvikuru sei nemararamiro aringa achiita. Ndine imwe issue yandinayo recently yechiu yakaitika pane chimwe chikoro muno Zvishavane. Baba ndokuroora mukadzi wavo ndobvafa pavasara nemwana musikana. Vasara nemwana musikana ndokubva vakunge vakuabuse mwana, sexual abuse. The father,
The biological father.
the biological father, he married another wife. Ndobva vanetsana newife yacho, then ndobva wife yaenda kumusha kwavo, ndobva vasara nemwana musikana, and he started to abuse mwana wavo, the biological daughter. Now mwana zvakaramba zvichiitika until mwana arwara vakamubvisa muno muZvishavane panguva iyoyo yelockdown. Mwana ari supposed kuenda kuchikoro, ivo vachingoti ari kurwara ari kumusha, ivo vakamunzvengesa because vanga vachitotya maneighbors. So vamunzvengesa kudaro, time yakazoita long yekuchikoro akuzonzi akasauya tinodi, ndobva vanomutora. But mwana achisvika pachikoro akanga achiratidza kuti ari kurwara ende haana mufaro. Then yet vazomubvunza kuti why chii chiri kumboitika, akatadza kutaura yet, ndobva angochema. Then the head ndobva vamurefera kuna teacher, ndobva azonotaura kuti ini ndozviri kuitika, baba vanondidai. So nyaya ndobva yaiswa kupolisi. Mwana ndofunga nokutya baba, ndopane nyaya yangombe ipapo pekuti tinoda kuti as a church, how best can we be very closer kuvana, because mwana kumubereki wake anotadza kuita that free, kuna whoever anotadza kuita that free, otya okipa zvinhu. Handiti nyaya payakangoenda kumapurisa, mwana akabva atanga kuvhara nyaya. Handiti haana kuda kubva aburisa zvingachiita, but unoziva kuti mapurisa ane basa ravo, vakabva vatanga kuita zvavanoita. Then vakatora mwana kubva kune mubereki vachimuisa under investigation, ndobva vatoisa mwana kucertain home kwabva katochengeta mwana izvozvo. Andimugona, but mwana ari kutonzi atove HIV positive. Handiti yes, andikona plus now ari kunyora form 4 this year mwana iye. Andiri kuona kukanganisika kwaatoita. Handiti mungona akanganisika zvakaita sei. Handiti saka ini ndiri kuti as a church mandipa mukana uyu wakanaka, because nachishaya kuti ndoloncha sei muno muZvishavane. Ndoda kuti ini ndive nemukana wekusangana nevana vechidiki vari kuzvikoro, tichivadzidzisa hongu kuzvikoro vari kudzidziswa about sexual reproductions. Do this vamwe vachindi tinoda kukupai condoms to use. Inini zvangu ndinoti at times nyaya yekuti mwana apiwe condom, kana kuti vanogara eze pachikoro kuti vana muri kuzobata nezvirwere, muri kuzodi to prevent pregnancy, let us give you condoms. Ndikuona kuti ndo pari kutangira nyaya. But as a church isusu tinodzidzisa abstinence to vana ngavarege kuita sex. Vana ndinopfudza kuti ngavasamboziva nezvekuti pane something about sex. Ndikainimbomira ipapo.
Yeah, it's actually sad when you hear such a story yemwana anoabuswa nababa vake vakamubereka, and victimized to the point yekuti even when the community tries to get justice for her, anobva aramba or try to cover up for that crime. But thank you so much, Mama, for sharing that experience. I think we have learned a lot about communities, real life stories.
Okay, so you'd realize when I was talking about codependency, how I was talking about Nyaya Mama, to say this. Mama was talking about how a daughter was not being abused by the father because of the lockdown. These are the only two individuals, and then probably this child was in this environment where she was dependent to the father. So you'd realize that there are a whole lot of intersectional issues that arise, and previously the producer asked us around issues of the functions in the society to say, are functions not good for the socialization and the day-to-day lives of women? I don't know if that's a rhetorical question that I'm supposed to answer.
No,
but I would want to say...
Is it bad kuti kumurume go and munotema huni and motivigira whatever, momuudza murume while I remain woman?
Okay.
Is that bad?
So I would want the listeners to answer to themselves now. Is it bad or is it good? Then moving on to that is to say, from my perspective, I think I'm a married woman, so I'll speak from a married woman view, and I'm a feminist. So you'd realize that most instances they always say married women can't be feminist because tenets of the African society vis-a-vis tenets of feminism clash, which is true. I'll tell you that I've lived realities where my other side of feminism is being pulled this side. Yeah. My other side of being a married woman is being pulled this side, and I'm in between to say, but a feminist me will be like, nah, you're not doing that. But a married woman perspective is like, mommy, you have to do that. So you'd realize that you would get to that point where I think, as Bob was talked about earlier around how two individuals have to have a conversation, it also works. You set the rules, the ground, the conversation about how you want your relationship to go with. Despite your in-laws, your in-loves, the community, the church, the society, you agree this works, this doesn't work. We have a working relationship in our home where the males actually help with doing work because we also help with sometimes what's called the male roles. So it's just living. You know, there was a book we used to do in grade 5 when we were still in school, living and working together.
Yeah.
Yes. I hope you all know. Yes. So you realize that book, if we could take some of the tenets around it, it's not a forced matter for a woman to cook. She is not born with a manual or instruction or a software or for her to know how to cook or to bake chocolate chip cookies. It's not also born in the manual body of a man to know how to chop wood or get water. But funny enough, Zvishavane, women get water. But anyway, it's not born into that. So you realize that gender roles are quite socialized. What happens at my home is different from what happens in Mama's home. It's different to the next home or even community. So I'm not answering that question. But I'm saying us as individuals have to decide. Have to decide. It doesn't have to be decided for you.
Exactly.
Have to decide together.
Exactly.
Okay,
and when you're talking about book, sorry, when you're talking about, I thought we were going to talk about the book.
I know.
I think that's where it starts from, isn't it? Those roles, we learn them from those Vamutema books and all that.
Now, quick interjection. My daughter is grade 2. So there's the Sunrise Readers. She came with it and she was reading. Chipo and Jenny are cooking in the kitchen. Tatenda and David are seated outside. And she was like, that was a basic reaction when she was reading it, because I was on my table doing my work and she was reading out loud. So I did not want to interject. I wanted her to just go through. Exactly. She was like, Mama. I was like, yes. Because this is not right. Why are they seated? Why are they not helping? And I did one and I said, and I was like, yeah, it's true, but also understand that and then she went back to school and told the teacher that this is not right. The teacher called me and asked Kuti, what kind of a setup do you have at home? And I said, I'm grooming my daughter to know that she is just an equal individual as any other person in the community.
Because selfishness is not okay. You can't expect me. You know what? Right now, men have this thing where, I want an independent woman. I want a woman who works for herself. Okay, fine. I have an 8 to 5 job, or sometimes I have to pull work to late hours, right? Then you tell me that 8 to 5 job, you also went to your job. I have to come back at home, start cooking, do homework for the kids. We come back same time. You are watching soccer. Apparently soccer is much more important than me, or what we're supposed to be doing. I have to cook, I have to clean, wash dishes, do everything whilst you watch soccer, waiting for your food, like the king that you are. You eat and you finish. After finishing, you go to sleep, I still have to wash dishes. It doesn't make sense, honestly.
Not all of us go to sleep.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be decided. It has to be isusu. Let's do things that work for each other, because if you help me, I help you. Let's make life easier for each other. Mama,
ari glad batsirane zvagare ipapo indiri kuona sekunge tichitarisa takanangana nechechi tiri kuona kuti zvinhu zvese izvozvo zvikaitwa kuburikidza nerudo handiti rudo tichitarisa nechechi inobva yati kana zvaitwa murudo it's not a forcing matter handiti kana zvikangoitwa murudo chete no matter wabva kunoita sei wagadzirira vana wabva kuwacha chichi murume angachiona TV but akangeva ane rudo kuti mukadzi wangu anete saka pakuzoda kuzomumanikidza kana kuda kuzomubvunza kuti manga makagara ndichiwacha ndichidini ndo paakuzotanga manje the violence kuti you are supposed to do that's why I married you saka asi zvikaitwa murudo handiti the Bible teaches us kuti zvinhu zvese zvikaitwa murudo zvinenge zvine muchechetere.
Is not happy, mama.
I'm sorry. No.
I think the conversation, mama, is around, am I doing it out of genuine love? Because they're acts of love. Love languages.
Exactly.
They're different love languages.
Exactly.
Some it's an act of service. Some it's an act of affirmation, gifting, and all that.
Physical touch.
So,
Exactly.
what I'm saying is, let me not just do it, as well as how sometimes church and religion or faith-based groupings have this way of trying to mold a woman to have these responsibilities on her shoulders. To say, I was doing my limb, and those are wakavinga pai pamusha wevanhu ita zvinoitwa pai pamusha wevanhu
zvoitwa kumba zviya zvokunzi uri mwana womusikana unotofanira kuzvidzidza ukaroorwa uchaita sei
ndiwe izvozvo but we never say iwe uri mukomana uchaita baba vemba.
Okay, so inini nyaya yangu I tried to find kuti where are most of our issues coming from, right? I feel like most of our issues are coming from home. Get me right. Okay, mom and dad, they want to conceive, right? I think our first problem is when a child is favoritism. If we could have a boy child, I feel like that's where our problem comes from, because we've realized there's some sort of disappointment.
That's actually very true.
Yeah, there's some sort of disappointment. So, zvinototangira ipapo kunzi kwai mwana msikana, why don't you try for another one? Because you're basically saying okay, fine, it's a child, but we would prefer this. Why? I feel like that's where our issues are coming from.
Wow, interesting perspectives coming from both genders and from different parts of society, from the church, from the feminists and all. And I'm happy that there are a lot of issues emanating from this discussion, which we'll definitely tackle. So don't miss out, guys.